I'd like to thank also the two first speakers, because I think two of the subjects that I was wanting to speak about have been reached. The first one being partnership. And indeed, Arup is a partnership, and one of the reasons I'm here today is because of this way of thinking. The second thing is freedom. Although I work for a big company, the big ethos about our company is the fact that we have freedom. And if I did not have the freedom, I don't think I would be here today to speak about what I'm about to speak. So, I put this picture up because I'm a paradox, maybe, or at least a few people think that this is my dream in terms of where I want to head up. But although I'm going to show you this, which looks like a bit like the good life, I'm going to talk to you about virtual reality in virtual environment. I'm an acoustic designer or a soundscape designer, and I deal with all sorts of projects, and I look at what's happening in terms of sound. And of course, I work for a big, large company called Arup, and as David said, we are a partnership, and we are about 10,000 people, which is quite a lot of people, but we're driven by individual drive and enthusiasm and passion. And this passion allowed us to grow organically in a way, in many directions. We started 60 years ago with the project number one was the slope at the London Zoo for the penguin, and 60 years later we designed buses and all sorts of things you can think of, to the point I don't know all the things we're doing. We have a say as well in art, which is like when you go to a meeting and you've got an issue at the table and you don't know the answer, you just raise your hand and you just say, I'll take it, someone in Arup will know. When you send it to the forum, and 24 hours later, someone from Australia sends you an email saying, I did it, and that's the answer. We have also the opportunity to work on large, iconic projects. You may recognize a few there. And we are providing holistic design to project we're involved in, and basically looking at all aspects or issues of engineering you can think of. And acoustics is one, but I've got colleagues. I work every day with colleagues from fire or facade or whatever, and you may not think the obvious link between the two. But sustainability is something which drives us as well. We've entered a new era where we have to be driven by making sure our design are sustainable, and sustainable not only for the construction, but also in running them. And personally, I've been involved in a few projects where we have to design the acoustics element are very important, natural ventilation and things like that, for example. And we have an ethos in the way we design, and when you start a project, you need to have the 6 rules of sustainability shown here. Enough about Arup. I just want to be, I want to talk a bit about what I do as well. I'm not here about talking about this only. Working in Arup, I've got a few specialties. One of them is oralization. I don't know how many of you heard about oralization, but I basically listen to buildings or to environment before they are built at design stage. And it started with the first sound lab about 10 years ago around the idea of oralizing a concert hall and listening to its acoustic characteristics. 10 years later, I'm in Glasgow with the Glasgow School of Art, and I will talk about it a bit later. We evolve it virtually in a concert hall and listening to the music, etc., etc. And the range of oralization is pretty wide nowadays. So the world of the Arup Sound Lab, in a way, has been around for about 10 years, and we've been able to oralize all sorts of environment. The one I'm particularly interested in is the soundscape design and the combination of visualization and oralization. The reason for this is providing another level of immersion. Combining sound is very important for me, but also combining vision. And I've started a partnership when I arrived in Scotland 3 years ago with the Glasgow School of Art around the idea of accurate visualization and accurate oralization. The picture you're seeing here is the Stirling Castle, and the collaboration with Glasgow School of Art Digital Design Studio focus on the idea of combining laser scannings to obtain accurate visualization and oralization. This is a laser scan of Stirling Castle, which gives you a point cloud of data. which we can turn into what we call the white model, which is interesting because on itself it's compatible with our acoustics model as well, which you can texture and animate even. It worked a minute ago. Great. There's a nice animation which is photorealistic. It looks like a movie. I need to pass on. You can go to the next level. Scanning is one thing, but you can go to the city level with using LiDAR technique. And the photorealism this is what you obtain. And you can imagine yourself being evolving in a 3D urban model. There is Google Earth around and things like that. But Glasgow City Council, for example, has got one of the few available 3D models online. You can check them. And what I'm interested in is combining this with soundscapes. For example, I worked recently with a car manufacturer about the idea of what would be the city soundscape of the future when cars become electric. At the moment, cars don't make any noise. That's nice in a way, but that's got some issues in terms of safety as well. So maybe we should emit some sound, maybe positive. But the idea as well of being able to immerse yourself in a virtual environment where you can better apprehend what the building would be looking like, sounding like, feeling like, but also the urban realm. And the idea of bringing all the disciplines that Arup is looking at and mixing it together and interact with them. So I'll give you an example of the idea of developing a sustainable building and the idea of designing a virtual building. You're seeing here some example. You've got here what we call a 5D model, 3D for obvious reason, but 4 being time and 5 being cost. So the client can see the cost being spent as you go along. And the scanning thing leads to, we're doing a lot of work with universities at the moment in EPSRC, EHRC, and the idea of historical reconstitution or also archiving, data archiving of historical objects, for example. But you can combine that and link it up to the design of eco-cities or eco-village. I'm working right now on a project called the Hanam Hall that you're seeing here, which is the first zero carbon emission village in UK. It's an interesting mix because it's a very nice rural environment with a listed hall in it, which needs scanning for, from the scanning you can obtain accurate drawings and data, but also I'm interested in the idea of looking at the soundscape and the quality of tranquility you have in these new eco-cities. And maybe the idea of having virtual performing arts centers. Now, virtual performing arts centers, I'm going to show you that in a minute. It's a chicken and egg situation. The idea with this is to give ownership of performing arts centers of their virtual version. So imagine yourself going on the website of a Glasgow City Halls, for example, and evolving. You start from Google Earth and you go inside a building and you go and pick up your seat for Saturday night performance. We have the technology to do the oralization of how it sounds in the seat. But we can't control the end user speakers in the laptop. But also that could be used for touring companies, to have a look at what the space may look like. But most importantly, it's also to give the ability to have conservatoires, for example, downloading virtual performing arts centers so they can rehearse virtually in it. So this is one of our clients, the Royal College of Music, which we are collaborating together around the idea of giving students the possibility to rehearse in your virtual space. Music students, for example, are rehearsing in a small rehearsal room with not necessarily, the acoustic of the rehearsal room is not necessarily related to what they're going to get when they go on stage of the big concert hall. So the idea is to be able to rehearse with a system giving you the acoustic feedback as well as the visual feedback. Now, this is where the idea of having the virtual performing arts center scanned and available online. So then you can, and I hope this visualization would work. Now, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go there. So this visualization is basically the idea of the concept behind it. computer is slow. Right. So I think this visualization speaks for itself about the concept behind it. So we have a little studio called the TEDx Lab in Glasgow, which is part of the partnership with the DDS, the Digital Design Studio. We are launching ourselves in January. There is a website that you're welcome to check. And we are all about the idea of combining visualization and visualization and bringing together all the multidisciplinary designs that Arab brings and interact with them using sound and 3D vision and as well as haptic tools. And I'll probably stop here. I think it's probably mean time.